What's today? Tuesday?
First impression of seeing Donovan. Feels like maybe it's too bad the human highlight reel nickname's already been taken. he is one.
Yeah, look, Donnie's one of what? You guys, I think he's one of 2 All-Americans that have returned. Maybe, and I don't know. In my mind, Purdue would have 2, so he'd be one of 3 returning All-Americans. Maybe Kaufman-Wren wasn't, just him and Braden Smith. But in my mind, Kaufman-Wren is. So, most guys that are All-American go pro or graduate. So it's obviously you get the benefit of having a guy that's talented and experienced, which in this era is really, really hard to find. We obviously had that when we had Tiger and Jaime.
What stood out to you about him so far?
About Donnie?
Yeah.
Basically, he shoots the ball way better than I thought he did. But then when you looked at his numbers from last year, he did, he shot it well last year. And that was the reason none of us recruited him coming out of high school. Nobody in the Pac-12 recruited him. So it's credit to Richard Pitino and his staff, the work they did. Gym rats get better. Gym rats get better. Guys with good habits get better. And I was just talking to Trent Perry, but you got to realize now, playing against him is making you better. And Donnie didn't start as a sophomore at New Mexico with House and Mashburn. We're both fifth year seniors. So, it shows you when you're a gym rat and you got good work ethic and you got skills, your talent, you'll get better. So he's a throwback guy, great senior. But yeah, he shoots it. To answer your question, he's shot it way better because I saw him a lot in high school, Ben. And if he'd have shot it like half as well as he shoots it now, he'd have been here out of high school. Or if I was smarter than I am, he'd have been here out of high school.
That's a good way to put it.
But something you got to admit when you got to admit when you're wrong.
He finishes so well too at the rim.
Well, he's sneaky. He played the sneaky athletic. He's way more athletic. That I knew. He was always great at that. Yes, always great at that. He was great at that at Centennial.
How's he changed your offense?
I equated it. I was talking to Deshaun the other day. We ran into each other outside here. You guys know their facilities next door, and talking about when you have somebody at quarterback, that has talent, high level talent, you can do things offensively that you couldn't do if you didn't have that guy. Because that guy is capable of plays that others aren't capable of. So you don't want to wear a guy down, right? You can't ISO him nonstop, but it expands. You give him responsibility, where he makes the right read. So, where he's making open shots at a high clip. But it just changes things. Obviously, and it makes life easier on his teammates. Like, that's what they'll tell you.
I was going to say, it seemed like Eric Daly's benefiting.
Yeah, there's days where we rotate teams all the time.
Sure.
So everybody's, we just mix it up. We try to make teams equal. I'm a big competitive guy. I don't worry about, the first 5 play against the second 5. So we don't do it. So we're more trying to be competitive. I believe in that. So, and I want guys to mix and match playing with each other. So. Eric Daly was a beneficiary today. Other days it's Tyler Bilodeau.
Coach, you brought in 5 transfers that are all upperclassmen. What was kind of like the idea with team building there?
Well, older wins. Look, this obviously is still college basketball, but it's now mirrors professional sports. That you're trying to win every year. Unless you prospect, like in the NBA, they tank, get young, build up. like the Thunder. The problem is you can't do that because even if you take that approach, they could all transfer on you. So you're basically in a 1 year, everything's a 1 year approach to everything. So if you're in a 1 year approach to trying to win a title, if you're adding players, you're going to add the oldest, smartest, best players you can.
Apart from Donnie.
So, that was by design. AP's is, we had graduates. Steven's a graduate, AP's a graduate, Jamar's a graduate.
Yeah.
Book's going to be a junior. So, obviously Donnie's a senior. So, it's by design. You're trying to win.
What are you seeing from some of those guys, other transfers?
Well, Book is making a transition to playing the 5, and he's worked hard at it. There's still times where it's just not second nature to him, certain footwork things. But he's become a much better. He hadn't ever really been a screener, a pick and roll guy. He had more been a wing shooter his whole career. So he's really grown. He's becoming a better screener and roller. That's important. He's always been able to move his feet defensively. So he's, it's just he's a work in progress at the 5. But he's a sponge. He's trying. Steven Jemerson has been a diamond in the rough for us, for sure. He's got an unbelievable story. That's your human interest story. There you go. I promise you. Steven Jemerson is going to be a really good player for us. And if he plays well, when I play at Michigan State, and I tell Coach Izzo, this guy was a freshman on your campus, just walking around, trying to walk on your team, and that you guys didn't get back to him. How about that?
Wow.
It'll feel good.
How about that? It's just an amazing story of how how much better he's gotten from his days at Crespi. So, but his ability to rebound, defend, he's an elite rebounder. You look at his numbers analytically. If you get one for every 3 minutes played in your career, you're a great rebounder. And he's like a 3.1.
Daly
Really happy with him.
Eric seems to be playing with even a higher level of confidence.
Look, Eric's all about gym time. The guy lives in the gym. I said that to you last year. The guy conducts himself like a professional. But becoming a better player is his goal every day when he wakes up. You don't have to motivate Eric Daly. Like a lot of young guys, they were good because they were just better than their people in their state. Where Eric, because his parents played and coached at a high level, he's been trained that you have to get better. And his dad's such a great example because he played high level Europe for 10 plus years. So, these kids, they think, well, if I don't make it, I'll go to Europe. And his dad, such a great example. It's like, you don't understand how hard it is there, how good you have to be there. Forget about being in the NBA. Like, even that is really hard. So he's had the right things said to him. But he's getting better. As he's slowing down on offense. He's a better shooter. He's a better passer. You can play through him more. And he listens. Two things for Eric Daly to work on this summer that is obvious: defensive footwork, guarding smaller guards, playing the wing for us, and his cutting without the ball, his moving without the ball. And I know that he takes it serious because he sends me clips he finds on the internet of people moving without the ball, cutting without the ball, and asking me questions. Drew Holiday guarding the ball, So it's nice to have actually a few players that think that you know a little bit about what you're doing when you tell them the things they have to get better at to become a pro. It's real simple. It's real simple. If you can guard the other team's best player and shoot 40% from 3 when you're 6'7", 225, you will play in the NBA. But can you guard the other team's best player? If you can do those two things, you will play in the NBA.
How's he coming along in that aspect of guarding?
He's working at it. And look, we got great guys on our team. Great guys on our team. And I'm hard on him. I try not to let him get complacent. So I never want a guy to say that I didn't try to make him better. But like they all say, I know this is funny because what you guys saw today. Let me guard Donnie in practice, so I can work on my defense. I'm like, if you guys seen anything or know anything about Roman history, they're like, they look at me. I'm like, you ever heard about being fed to the lions? Like Eric and Tyler. I've told them you got to work on your footwork. Let me guard Donnie. I said, why don't we start with guarding each other? You got no shot at guarding him.
How good can this team be as a defensive team? What do you see maybe a little bit different than it?
Well, I think size-wise, I think size-wise, we're going to work on, if we can play a little changing defense at times, like my old days, because we're older and smarter. But size matters defensively. It just does. So I think, that's where Book and Steve and AP can help us the most. Older, bigger, stronger guys, or from a size factor. I think there's no question about that. I think that at the end of the day last year, we weren't big enough. When the rubber met the road against Michigan, against Tennessee in the second round, they were just too big and strong for us.
How's Jamerson as a defensive post?
Very good.
Was that a surprise to you a little?
Not really. As Darren had me zero in on the film, and then I spoke to Randy Bennett, who's a friend and obviously one of the best coaches in the country. Once I spoke to him, and I said, look, here's what I'm seeing. This guy's in your league. And he said, he's the most underrated player on the West Coast as a big guy. He was just stuck in a tough situation. So when Randy's playing against him twice, it's maybe 3 times. Better, he can screen, he can defend, he can rebound. And he's got legitimate size, as you saw. He's every bit of 6'10". Where William last year for us, he'd be 6'8". It wasn't his fault. Yeah, I think it matters. And he's a graduate player.
Just watching him, it seems like he really gets a lot of the nuances, especially on offense, just not defensively. Were you pleasantly surprised over that? You recruit these guys, and Randy Bennett suggests them, but then you get them on the court.
Yeah. You don't really know, like how much does a guy understand basketball, and then aptitude is the most underrated thing with an employee, a player, and you just don't know what somebody's aptitude is until you get them. Ability to learn is much more important than ability to teach. You get being somebody that can listen, learn, apply, and he's great at that. He's a sharp kid. He's, like I said, he's a huge steal for us. I give Coach Savino a lot of credit. He was on that right away.
What about Jamar Brown? Seems like he's a Swiss Army knife kind of guy.
Another guy, Nate Jorson. I just think, in the portal, we have our own philosophy to it that I won't go into too much. But I believe in finding guys that are winners, that are good people. I think if you recruit guys because of hype and got problems, that's what shows up, hype and problems. It's simple, but people think, well, I'll fix the problems. You bring in guys that are quality people that are winners, where their coaches, and Marvin Menzies says, this kid is an unbelievable kid. And we're saying to their staff, looks like, this guy averaged 7 rebounds a game. Most shooters don't average 7 rebounds. Very rare for a shooter to average 7 rebounds a game. But he's a football player. He used to play. So intensity and toughness aren't an issue. And his attitude is unbelievable. And he's older. There's another human interest story for you. Guy went to Phoenix College.
Am I going to be able to talk to him?
Oh, whenever you want.
What do you think we'll see from Sky Clark this season? Maybe
Alex will
playing
give you
off
his
the
number.
ball a little bit more.
Was Scott saying off or on?
Off just with Donnie here.
Yeah, look, they play against each other. We try to make them play against each other in practice every day. Right now, Sky's going to get a lot of shots because of Donnie, but he's also going to make Donnie's life a little bit easier. Scott, he was just okay today. He was our best player Monday. I think he's going to have an unbelievably improved, consistent year. You saw it late in the year, but having his tragic family situation, kind of put to bed, where he can concentrate on basketballs, he's just gotten to that in the last month of his life. And it's already starting to show. But yeah, look, it's having your life a lot easier when you got a guy like Donovan Dent on your team.
Would you say team-wide shooting has maybe improved?
Oh,
this
yeah.
year?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. I mean, look, Jamar's a shooter. Lazar had a tough year last year shooting the ball. That hurt us. But, Sebastian or Dylan were drivers. We shoot it way better. It's not even close.
We got Brandon Williams coming off his red shirt year.
Yeah.
What areas have you seen him maybe improve on?
He was in better shape other than today. He practiced. Most guys wouldn't practice. He was fighting a sciatica thing down his leg today. That's what we saw him moving funny at times. Just been better shape. I think, having Dave Andrews as our strength and conditioning coach is a huge, huge advantage for us. But, when it comes to retention, and you recruit young players, and you try to retain the guys that are the hardest workers with the best attitudes, right? Because those are the guys going to get better, be leaders of your team, and that type of thing. And he's always had a great attitude. And he's a chance to get back in his right class because he was so young.
What have you seen from Eric Freeding?
He hurt his groin in a slip play today. He's unbelievably tough, as you know. We've tried to tell Free he's got to become a great shooter, and that's what he spent his time on. He's so aggressive. We're trying to teach him how to defend without fouling, because those fouls, when you only play in practice as a red shirt, you can't foul out. So starting this summer, I've been on him, like that. That's one. That's two. You can't. I want you to defend and be aggressive, but you can't just foul the guy every play. So he's still young, but he can shoot and he doesn't lack for toughness. And he's the first guy in the gym every morning. So really happy he's in our program, because you just got to keep him, because he's just going to keep getting better, because he's still a freshman now. But ability to make, if he can he can help us. If he can make open shots, he doesn't need to handle the ball on his team. So if he can make open shots and we can count on him defensively, I would say this about, I'll let you guys talk to the players. A guy told me this a long time ago. Figure out who the toughest guy on your team is, right? If you circled them all up and you were going to drop a ball from the ceiling, and who was going to come out of the pile with it, that's your toughest guy. And I think I might take Free. I think I'd take Free. Who would you take Free on that one? You've seen him in high school.